the goddess Lakshmi. Pretty small statue we got here, but that's Amazon for you. That is Amazon for you. They will do stuff like that. I don't know why, but I appreciate it. I just want to really talk about this video I actually made, but I wasn't able to upload it on YouTube because it was too long, unfortunately. But the video I was talking about was kind of decoding the movie Yes Man. And Yes Man is a movie made by Jim Carrey, or he starred in it. And basically Jim Carrey is like playing this role of this dude, and he's kind of depressed and he's kind of like a shut-in, you know, and his life is kind of quite boring. And so he has this, you know, all his friends or whatever, they try to get him out the house. They try to get him to go to parties, go to the bar, and, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, he had recently lost his girlfriend. She didn't die or anything, but he recently lost his girlfriend, and she, you know, she left him. So it kind of put him in a fucked up state, basically. And you know, so his friends have multiple attempts to try to get him out the house and all that stuff, but he's just not going with it. He doesn't really feel like it, you know. He just feels like he just wants to be in the house. He wants to be alone, stuff like that. And the movie kind of go in, and I'm not really going to explain the movie too much. Kind of, if you know, I advise to watch the movie, but from my perspective, the Yes Man movie, and I actually was watching it one day, and I was just thinking like, all right, well, let me try it. Let me try this whole thing of Yes Man. Let me just say yes to everything. Later on, I began to realize like, okay, well, obviously that's not the most smartest thing to do, you know, because saying yes to every single thing can lead you in a, you know, put you in a bad situation. But I began to realize that the whole concept of the movie wasn't focused on just saying yes. It was focused on changing your perspective of having a yes type of mentality besides of a no type of mentality. As the part in the seminar, the dude who was basically giving the lecture about yes, as he explained that when you say yes, you open yourself up to the possibility of not exactly sure what he said, but he just said you open up yourself to these different possibilities and you throw out the nasty, the fucked up things. And I realized that movie is a very powerful movie. It's literally showing you that your perspective creates a reality. And even though you might be in a bad situation, you might be in a super horrible situation, simply having a positive response to it, you'll see the blessings that comes after that. I figure that a lot of us focus on the traumatic and the trauma and the tragedies of the world and the tragedies of our experiences. And I've never met a person that hasn't had a traumatic experience that after that traumatic experience, they had some type of revelation, some type of blessing after it. But the majority of those people are not even focused on the blessing. They're honestly still engaging and focused on the tragedy. Like, you can be a dude and he can have a wife, you know, he can love that wife, but she's not necessarily the best wife. And he loses that wife. And he might lose that wife to find a better wife. But he's still focused on the tragedy of him losing this past wife. And the Buddhists actually talk about this concept of the favorite of you can have a favorite cup, but one thing that's definite is that that favorite cup is going to break. One day it's going to break. Your favorite cat is going to die. This is what's destined based on the place that we live in, the place that we live, humanity, Earth. And the point is not to focus on the tragedy of the cup, but to focus on the good times of the cup. And that can be a hard thing, even if you do focus on it, because now you're like, well, it makes it worse. But the fact is, you're not necessarily focused on the good times of the cup. You're focused on the tragedy of the cup with the memories of the good time of the cup. And this can cause a lot of dysfunction. You know, it can cause a lot of stagnant energy. And to kind of explain, there was a part in the video where, and there's a part in the movie where Jim Carrey, he starts his journey on saying yes. And the situation is kind of bad. You know, he picks up his homeless dude. The homeless dude's using his phone. The homeless dude takes him in the middle of nowhere. And basically asks for some money. Jim Carrey gives him all his money, obviously because he's saying yes to everything. And then now he's run out of gas in the middle of nowhere. And he walks to the nearest gas station, long and behold, to find a girl that he'll end up sharing his life with, which is kind of the explanation that don't matter how bad the situation might get, there's always going to be this blessing at the end of it. And it's kind of like a lesson. It's kind of like explaining that things aren't just given to you. Majority of things that you have to be earned. You have to go through that journey for it. Just like the hero in every movie, he has to slay the dragon in every single movie. And a lot of us are too built on comfortability. You know, I explained life to my brother one time, and I was explaining him, I said, life is like living in the jungle. From time at a time, you're going to be faced with a lion or a tiger or whatever. You're going to be faced with that tiger. And when that tiger comes to you, it's going to be fucking hungry. You have the choice. You're going to run and hide. You're going to sit there and pout. You're going to destroy that tiger. And most times you have no choice but to destroy that tiger. And that's just explaining that no matter how hard times are going to get, even if the situation is dramatic and it's super gigantic, it's enormous, there's always a way of outsmarting that dragon. Or not that dragon, but that tiger. There's always a way of overcoming that obstacle. You just have to clear your mind and really navigate yourself through that situation. Because if your mind is frantic, if it's rushing, if it's all over the place, you don't give yourself time to think of a strategy, of a plan to get out of that. And I figured the mind is very complex, it's very advanced. The mind is like a computer. It's not smarter than these computers that we have now. I mean, it's not dumber than these computers we have now. These computers, we can ask any question and it can answer it. The mind is totally advanced to that. So no matter what situation you find yourself, it always has an answer to get out of that situation. You have to become the yes man. I'm not saying that you have to say yes to everything, but you have to change your perspective on what you perceive is bad, a bad situation. I believe in the concept of there's no bad or no good. It doesn't exist. Now, obviously, if somebody walk up to me and punch me in the face, it's not a good situation, but yeah, that's not a good situation. but I'm gonna have make sure in every way, shape, and form to prevent that. That movie, Yes Man, is a very powerful movie. To end this on a conclusion, I simply encourage people to watch that movie. Honestly, I really do. It can actually and watch it with a sense of understanding, of trying to understand the concept of this thing, you know, and just watch how he was able to live careless, like a child. You know, in the Bible, they talk about how God says, "Come to me as a child." It's not saying that you have to become a child again and play with toys, but you have to adapt to that concept of you have to regain that mindset. Not saying you're childish or nothing, but you have to gain that mindset of just being careless. And it's not careless in the sense where, okay, my light bill is need to be paid. I'm just gonna be careless and forget about it. No, you actually did pay the light bill, obviously, but don't let it stress you out. Don't let it affect you. And the one key way to dive in to not letting it affect you is diving in to the chakra system, where these emotions are actually being navigated. These emotions are actually they exist in the chakras. They only not only they exist in the chakras, but they exist in the subconscious. They exist in the psyche, and it's a lot of work to actually deprogram yourself from thinking that way. But once you deprogram yourself from thinking that way, you'll see the results to the point where situations that don't benefit you will still happen, but there'll be very few of them. And the fact that you won't even notice them anymore. And you'll only notice these uplifting blessings that you run across. And the more that you notice it, the more it's become the norm, and you adapt to this till it becomes your everyday thing, that only the just good things happen your way all the time. I'm gonna end this video right there. Appreciate